A question I have is, if it is, I suppose, like something that's slightly puzzling, right? Is it if it is in fact the case that it is in Shell's interest, BP's interest, Lloyd's of London, the IMO, as in the International Maritime Organization, if it's in their interest to use tools in their arsenal to try and mediate in Yemen to try and clear up shipping lanes. And if in fact there are these like large institutions that have the ability to lobby government, that discourse constantly with government, how come we haven't seen this already take place?
Well, a lot of conversations are taking place, obviously not in a
As
in
in,
a
do you
public
feel like there are
limelight.
strategic blockers somewhere in government that preclude them from allowing people to pursue their own interests in a way that would be most conducive to a solution that is not in fact military, that doesn't result in us just bombing the Houthis into oblivion to no end?
No, I think the interesting bit, what we have to understand is Westminster and Whitehall is like a castle, right? With
Right.
very tall castle walls. Whatever happens behind the walls stays somewhat shaded in secrecy, if you will. What they haven't done is really building networks in and out. And when they do build networks, like intelligence services, they build them in one direction, right, to gather information.
Yeah, I see.
But there are valves in between that make sure that the networks are not reciprocal.
As unidirectional, I see.
So what you need to do is build reciprocal relationships,
I see.
right? And so let's take the case of Lloyd's of London. There is one country that can really unlock Yemen, and that's Oman, right? The Omanis have the relationship with the Houthis, they have a relationship with different parties on the ground. Saudis have a vested interest as well. Our government is not going to do anything really, and when I say government, civil service, or the military, to really use these relationships effectively to drive anything forward. Because again, we're hamstrung with our relationship with the United States, and we never really strategic because governments, because of the way the system works, most of the system isn't very strategic. It takes short-term over long-term decisions and so on. Political gain is more important than actually national gain long-term, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you have private corporations that have an interest, it's very difficult for a private entity to actually get access to that castle that I was talking about.
Right.
And draw upon the relationships which are international relations. Let's say Oman as a somewhat a potential partner to unlock that relationship with the Houthis. Why can a private entity not have access with Oman to unlock that relationship if our government is not doing anything about it? And so what we need to do is kind of develop a public-private partnership along the way where there is cross-pollination, but also interdependence, right? Going both ways, where both sides can work with one another. And that's not happening. And so there are certain blockers in the way, whereby government says, oh no, that's a matter of national security, we can't possibly talk about it.
Oh, I see.
And most of the time when you have conversation with people on a level where you say, oh, that's about national security, you realize that there is actually a lot of people in the private sector who have these relationships already, who do business or via interlocutors with that particular entity, and don't have any security clearance, and they do have the conversation without security clearance, and they have more effect on the ground than those guys who work in their little ivory tower of saying, oh, this is too much top secret, can't possibly talk about it. So in the world of entanglement that we're in, hyperconnectivity, these old structures, these hierarchical structures, right, of state, are very ill-suited to work alongside those networks.